It is a great honor to present our team's entry into the 2020 Digital Inclusion Challenge. Our team comes from the geographically isolated city of Thunder Bay, northwestern Ontario, Canada. Throughout high school, we have seen the experiences of many students, particularly those from Indigenous backgrounds, who experience profound and debilitating challenges with mental health issues related to school. Only a few years back, an inquest into the death of 7 First Nations students from remote First Nations communities who were here in Thunder Bay for school really brought these issues into the limelight.
The struggles we have witnessed here in Thunder Bay are a microcosm of the issues students in remote communities across Northern Ontario experience daily with regards to mental health and educational attainment. Having grown up and completed secondary school here in the city, we feel an obligation to serve and help our friends and family as we are part of a very tight-knit community. Now, even though we have gone our separate ways for university, we believe that through this hackathon, we can not only reconnect, but we can really, truly make a pragmatic change for our community and our region. We have recognized that the key difficulty in rural communities that worsens existing inequalities is poor access to valuable resources. Northern Ontario, our home, is far too familiar with this. Mental health is a massive, massive issue in remote northern communities, and access to mental health resources need to be immediately addressed since it is intrinsically linked to educational attainment within youth. For students in remote First Nations communities, the pandemic has amplified their feeling of isolation and limited their access to mental health support and mental health resources. In particular, their lack of a fast and reliable internet has created holes for their access of sessions for mental health support as everything has moved online. We recently spoke with a practicing child psychiatrist in our region about all the problems that she has been going through in the past few months. One issue stood out among the rest: the internet. Particularly, she detailed how severely a lack of a good and consistent internet could completely derail a session she was having with a client and impact the quality of all of her calls. The current alternative for online video conferencing consultations is for the clinician to actually call the client through the telephone. This method, however, brings with it its whole new set of challenges. For one, a telephone conversation does not allow a clinician to assess the nonverbal cues and facial expressions of the client. Now, these expressions and cues are extremely vital for the client to express his or her deep feelings and emotions that may not otherwise be portrayed through an audio conversation. As a result, the consultation is far less effective. And as we know, mental health is a key determinant in successful educational outcomes. Through our product, we aim to improve the quality of mental health outcomes by developing a low bandwidth solution to face-to-face conferencing systems throughout remote areas.
How many times has video conferencing lagged on you during the pandemic? Now keep in mind, this is in big cities with access to high-speed internet. Now imagine what it's like in a remote First Nations community where access is much more limited. For us, we just need to drive to the edge of town and we lose signal, so we can only imagine what it's like further north.
Our product combines facial animation and video conferencing as an inexpensive and easy-to-implement solution. Our software tracks 80 point-pair coordinates on the face of the user and transmits them as coordinates to the other party. On the other side, the software processes these points onto a facial template chosen by the user and uses them to manipulate an avatar that matches the recorded person's facial motions and expressions. By transmitting coordinates instead of sending a video, our software can reduce the required bandwidth by up to 70% compared to leading video conferencing softwares. So our product allows clinicians to assess facial expressions and nonverbal cues from the patient, even in cases of very limited bandwidth. Our software is peer-to-peer, or as we call it, face-to-face. The software will create a temporary client-side server and connect both users together through it. A simple implementation of Node.js and a non-SQL database are used on the server side for transmission, providing a seamless and non-intensive solution. To increase the personal connection, Face-to-Face gives the user the option to create an avatar of their face so that the clinician can see the actual person they're talking to. The user is prompted to mimic the on-screen avatar's actions, then demonstrate 4 basic emotions so that the software can properly create an avatar of their face.
These aforementioned benefits allow for us to access many more, especially rural markets. For example, the community of Manitouwadge in Northern Ontario has an average upload-download internet speed of 0.2 megabits per second. For most video conferencing softwares, that is enough to run 1/3 of them, meaning that it's not possible. While for our video conferencing software, we have more than enough. Currently, the 2 alternatives to our software are the traditional video conferencing softwares and telephoning. Now, Face-to-Face combines the beneficial elements of the 2 without a majority of the drawbacks, and that's why it's in its own category. It has all the important emotional and facial cues that video conferencing software brings along with itself, while not having those great bandwidth requirements that are also inherent to video conferencing software. And that is why we consider it a superior alternative.
Providing a reliable, high-speed internet for these communities is an unlikely short-term goal that would cost billions of dollars of new infrastructure in the form of thousands of miles of Ethernet and hundreds of cellular towers, not to mention the environmental impact. Furthermore, this region is only represented by 4 representatives in our provincial parliament. This means that our issues are not a prominent concern for our government. Our solution is able to utilize pre-existing infrastructure to bring about this change at a much lower cost. The amount of processing power required for Face-to-Face is very similar to the filters used on TikTok, which is the most downloaded mobile app in the world. Since laptops have more processing power than mobile devices, they will have no problem running Face-to-Face. We will partner with the local mental health service to offer a pilot project of only a few hundred participants. This will allow us to find any unanticipated technological glitches and confirm the intuitiveness of our user interface. From there, since it doesn't require any new infrastructure or technological upgrades, it can be very easily scaled up to include the province, then the country, then beyond Canada to have an international impact.
Even beyond its specific mental health applications, our product, Face-to-Face, can be used as a low bandwidth video conferencing software in a number of other purposes. For example, it can be used in a purely educational setting. Similarly, it can be used to help remote startups gain interest from independent investors. Lastly, our software can be used in any setting in which low bandwidth is a requirement, as internet connectivity is an issue.
Face-to-Face truly offers a simple solution to a widespread problem, thus expanding the online world and giving everyone an equal opportunity to become connected in a time when the pandemic has forced us all into social isolation.